and atheism separately.
Yeah, this might be a little segue, but Dan, do you believe that what do you believe has more influence on the people, right? Social media or what the government says or does? I believe social media could cause a countrywide or a generational wide changing type of like riot. We are live every day on Kick from around 4 to 2 in the morning Mountain Standard Time. So that's 2 hours behind East Coast time. So that's basically like I'm live from 6 to 4 every day. If we're going off for Eastern time. Pull up to the stream. Link is in the bio. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Know the vibes. Nah, they got Fresh look like a dawn in here. Why the fuck they put Chris in the alleyway? What the fuck? They got a nigga look like a hobo. Nah, they violated mine. Nah, they made more on unnecessarily large.
Yeah, we're live. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Freshfit Podcast, man. It is Monday. We got a special guest in the house, guys. We got a three-peat for you guys, by the way. We got Mohammed Hijab now, and then we got TK Kirkland coming in a little bit later, and then obviously we're going to do an after-hour show for you guys.
With him.
Yes, it's going to be lit. Quick announcement, 2 main things, guys, really. Rumble.com/Freshfit, that's the home base for us, CouchClub.tv, and then the tickets.
Guys, we're having a live event here in Miami, April 26th. Don't miss out. Special guests, girls, and, of course, us in the studio live for you guys. So go check it out. Tickets are down below, pinned, and in comments.
Totally affordable, too, man. It's going to be down here in Miami. We want to get as many of you guys out there as possible, meet as many of you guys in person. It's going to be lit. We're excited. But without further ado, man, we got a special guest in the house. You guys have been requesting us to do a collab with him for a very long time, and I'm glad that he made time for us today. Welcome to the podcast, Mohammed Hijab, man.
Thank you very much for having me, my friend. How are you doing? You all right?
How are you, man? I'm good. I'm
Welcome.
good. Welcome.
Yeah, good.
I'm glad we're able to make this happen, man. So for the audience that might not, I mean, obviously I'm very well aware of who you are. You know, shout out to Sneeko for linking us, by the way, and you know, creating that contact. But can you, you have a huge YouTube channel yourself, huge following, probably one of the most famous Islamic scholars in the world. But for those that don't know, can you please introduce yourself to the people?
Well, I mean, look, as you mentioned, content creator, I would probably call myself in the most neutral way. I've been online for about 8 years now, producing all kinds of content relating to, I would say, for example, like Islam, religion, politics, society, philosophy. And obviously, I've had lots of debates, which are high-profile debates. Recently, I had one with Piers Morgan, which went viral, which went mega viral, right? So that's really the reason why I've become quite notorious in the end, brother.
Nice. And I did actually see that debate, the one with Rabbi Shmuley, right?
There was 2. The initial one I had with Piers Morgan accumulated, I think, probably about 8.5 million views.
Yeah.
And then the one with Shmuley about, I don't know, like 5 million or something. But it was a heated debate, and Piers Morgan referred to it as the most combative debate in TV history. A lot of people, when they watch that debate, consider it to be a very controversial debate. So, yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of high-profile moments and interesting times. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, can you take us through your evolution of how you got here? Obviously, you're very respected in the space and in the religious world. How did you get to this point? What was your background like?
Well, I've been going to university for a very long time, and at the same time, I've been doing Islamic studies. So because I've been doing like multiple degrees over the span of maybe about 11, 12 years now, I found an outlet in being able to disseminate information, edify people, which was YouTube actually. So I found that YouTube and social media, the internet in general, allows you to get through to people in a way, in a manner that classrooms and lecture halls don't allow you to do so. So it's yeah, for me it's input and output. I've been learning and then I've been teaching. So I've been trying to edify the people and also learning from the people as well. Like, it's been a very transformative experience for me in the last 9 years.
And I know you're pursuing your PhD. When I was looking into some of your stuff, how far away are you from getting your doctorate?
I'm nearly done. I'm just writing it up and stuff like that. Hopefully, I should be finished with that. As I mentioned, like I've kind of had enough of university now, my friend, because I've been doing multiple degrees. I think I've done 4 now. I've done 4. By 1 year's time, I would have done 6. So that's a lot of degrees, and I think I'm going to retire at that point.
Well, let me ask you this. Oh, sorry, please. I was going to ask you. I just wanted you to finish your thought before I ask.
Yeah. I was just talking to my friends about this the other day, and like, when you do that many examinations, like from when you're a kid, and you do that many essays, and you do that many like dissertations or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So you get tired. And so it's been interdisciplinary for me. Like I've done a history master's, for example. I've done something in like philosophy of religion. I've done something in politics. You know what I mean? I've done obviously Islamic. I've done 2 Islamic studies degrees. So there's lots of things I've been doing along the way. I found it interesting. I find it enjoyable to do that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? But now, at the tail end of my studies, I've actually had enough of it a little bit. And so yeah, I feel like the next step for me is probably focusing a little bit more about the teaching side than the learning side.
Gotcha. And I totally feel you there, man, because just for me, even going to college and getting a bachelor's degree was a pain. So I can only imagine pursuing multiple degrees, pursuing a doctorate, like writing all those essays, going to lectures, writing dissertations like you were mentioning earlier. It's it gets very monotonous very quickly, especially when you've been in the education system for a while. But let me ask you this. So, I've always, at least in America, I don't know what it's like in the UK. I'm assuming it's fairly similar. The education system tends to be extremely liberal. The people in the education system tend to, swing left, be more woke, so to speak. How, as a Muslim, right, which naturally the religion is fairly conservative, how are you able to kind of maneuver in the education system without dealing with headaches or problems?
It depends on what you look. I've been to 4 universities, so like each university, actually each and every single one of them that I went to in the United Kingdom have been left-leaning universities.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll be honest, there's pros and cons from like a Muslim traditional perspective of going to a left-leaning place. The pro of it is that they are quite, obviously you'll know this, they're quite inclusive in that sense. So that they are afraid to say things that are going to offend you as a Muslim. They're aware of your cultural sensitivities and so on. Obviously the cons are well known. I think we're all aligned on some of the cons in woke culture and leftism in general. And obviously being around that, I don't like to see and be around some of that stuff. You know what I mean? As an individual, it's not my taste. It's not something I enjoy to see. However, I think the pros actually are more than the cons from my angle, at least, because at least I can get my job done. Yeah, I've had issues, but at the end of the day, when you're doing your dissertations, when you're doing your examinations in the United Kingdom, they have a degree of anonymity. So, like, for example, when I was doing A levels in this country, which is like
what's up, Dan?
SATs in America,
Yeah,
I done well in my A levels because no one knew who I was. Do you know what I mean? I scored high grades because no one knew who I was. When I got to university, once again, there were anonymity things. But here's the thing, I have actually suffered in the United Kingdom as a result of my views. For example, I used to work as a school teacher at one point, and this was famous news. In fact, one person that you interviewed, which is Tommy Robinson, was part of the reason for this. Well, I was working as a school teacher, and there was this kind of like, they were doing it, they called it the Freedom March. Then me and Ali Dawah came down. This was in 2018. It's public record. You can probably check this if you wanted to. We went and we wanted to challenge Tommy Robinson. In fact, Tommy Robinson had actually invited Ali to be one of the speakers of the event. So last minute, we went there. Last minute, they cancelled him being the speaker. And then we got beaten up, basically, because there was like, hundreds of them. They rushed us, which means they tried to beat us up.
Wait,
the videos are online. I don't know if you've seen them.
Physically?
Yeah, beat us physically. Yeah, it wouldn't be any other way. I mean, there was maybe 30 assailants or something like that. Do you know what I mean? So, what happened is
stream.
after that,
Appreciate you,
my
man.
school
Appreciate you,
contract
bro.
got cancelled.
How was your stream?
So I couldn't work as a school teacher anymore. So I realized that for me as a Muslim that has these views in the West and the United Kingdom, it's either censorship or it's it's not just censorship from a social media platform, which is
I'm still
something
streaming right now.
Okay,
afraid
good
of.
to hear, bro.
We're speaking to Sneaker. Obviously, he's been afraid. He's been censored and blocked off YouTube and stuff like that. But it's also the fact that you get fired from jobs.
Yeah.
You get managed out of things. You can't be free. You cannot be free as a conservative, if you like, traditionalist Muslim. So these are some of the things that I suffered, like growing up and stuff like that in this country. And so I had to make my living as a content creator. It wasn't actually my ambition. I wanted to do some kind of work, and at the same time, you know what I'm trying to say, do content creation. But it just so happened that everything forced me towards this. Because it's not just that I became unemployed, but it became unemployable when I had certain views. Like, for example, the views of LGBT. For Muslims, just like Orthodox Jews and many Christians, we don't believe that homosexuality is an acceptable morality, for example. So having that view is unacceptable to the majority of society in the West, especially in London. So it's forced me into this corner, I would say.
Wow.
What?
Because we've been told,
Sucks.
especially in the UK, there's no free speech at all. And from the laws as well, whatever you say can be used against you, but work-wise or, for example, even in regular-wise.
Yeah, you guys are fairly restricted in your ability to speak and convey your ideas.
Yeah.
Have you been to the United States before? I'm assuming you probably have.
I've been to the United States 4 times, been to Canada like 5 times. I would say, look, it's on a legislative level. It's true that in the United States of America, there are a broader legal allowances in terms of what you can say, because
Jaako was
you don't have
censored
the
because
equivalent
he
of
was saying
hate
wild
speech
shit is fairly
legislation.
different.
And things like defamation of character, libel, and stuff like that is much easier to prove.
You said Sneaker was censored because he was saying wild shit. That's fairly different. I mean, the stuff I felt like Sneaker was saying was just an exaggerated view on conservative and traditional, views. You know what I mean? Now, could he have went about it saying it the right way, like a very more professional way of saying it? Yes. But there's a lot of guys that have the same views as Sneaker, and some guys say a lot more worse stuff. It's because he was kind of attacking homosexuality. I feel like he really got taken off the platform. That's why I think it was, because a lot of the people that were giving him pushback for his views were homosexuals, and he would call that out. Got sniped. He got sniped. Now he was saying stuff like, what, women belong in the kitchen. Like, if you have views like that, I don't see what's the problem with having views like that. Just 10 years ago, everyone had those views. It's only now that people are trying to push like this, new way of thinking and stuff like that, that they're trying to censor the old way of living. But you can't call it freedom of speech if you're not allowed to say or speak or even portray the way that you believe is the right way to live. Now, if you're gonna do that at the expense of others, yes, you deserve to get censored. You deserve to get banned. You deserve to get pushed off of platforms. But from what I was seeing, he wasn't telling these guys to go kill themselves. He wasn't. The most he was doing was he was just dissing them, bro. He was just telling them, "Oh,
But
you're
now
weak,
he's
you're
against
pathetic."
what he said before.
What do you mean he's against what he said before? What do you mean?
In the United Kingdom than it is in the United States. So I think you're right to say that in the United States there's definitely more freedom of speech embedded both in constitutional law and institutions generally. But do you know, when we speak about freedom of speech, it's not just, I think it's a mistake to think that freedom of speech is something that it's only a governmental reality. Like in other words, so long as there's laws that allow or prohibit freedom of speech, that freedom of speech is present or absent in a particular society. Because the assumption there is that government is in control of all things that happen
agree with red pill
in a
views
society. Well, it's not the
anymore.
case. You've got government that controls part of society, but also you've got, for example,
interesting.
institutions. Elon Musk, as an example, is a very, influential person, and therefore his platform could be said to be in many ways.
When it comes to all these views and stuff, it's not no red pill or blue pill for me. I'm more traditional. I'm more conservative in my views. And yeah, that's just where it is. Do I care if a guy and a guy or a woman could get married? I really don't care. Do I care that it's getting pushed to the youth? Yes. I think you should just let the youth grow up in this world and then make their own, decisions. I don't feel like you should be teaching 5-year-olds in high school, especially in a lot of these Western countries. I don't think you should be in high school teaching 5-year-olds about sex. No. That was never the case growing up. Never the case 20 years ago, 10 years ago. I don't think it's something we should start implementing now. I think 13 to 14 is a perfect time to start talking about those stuff. And if you want to let people know that it's okay to be gay, you can go ahead and say that and do that. But if a kid doesn't want to, because I've heard this a couple of times in schools, they would have the children, especially the boys, put on dresses and stuff. If the kid doesn't want to put on a dress because he grew up in a household that doesn't promote that, don't bash that child, don't make that child feel bad. Simple as that. You know what I mean? Because now it was leaning one way where people was anti-homosexuality and just super straight. And now now the pendulum is swinging to this way where everyone is pro-homosexuality and kind of anti-straight or traditional beliefs. I want the pendulum to be here. Let everyone make their own decision and just live life, bro. If you want to be gay, be gay. If you want to be straight, be straight. Don't make one side feel bad for their choices. I don't really care. Me, I know what I am.
More powerful than some governmental institutions. So if he decides to take people off and on his platform, that's an implementation of freedom of speech or lack thereof on a platform.
How you doing,
Likewise,
bro?
YouTube.
Yeah.
And for a lot of these companies are US-based companies. So the point is that freedom of speech it shouldn't just be thought of as, okay, if it's in law, then it's present in society. If it's not in law, then it's not present in society, because you have all these institutions and companies. And one could even make a democratic argument against people like Elon Musk, because he's almost
What about you? I'm vibing.
the power of
Had a pretty good day.
representative,
I'm about to watch this
for
debate
example,
right here.
parliamentarian
Trent, stop
or
yapping, leave it to the
member of
politics.
Congress without being voted in.
Not yapping, I'm
So
actually making
this is
serious
an issue here,
points.
because you have people that have power, the power of politicians that have not been voted in. So
Not
this
yapping.
is a threat to democracy in many ways.
Good point.
But these are complex discussions. But the point is that what I wanted to bring to the table was that the absence or the presence of freedom of speech is not just contingent on constitutional law, statute law, or otherwise. It can also be the
Nah, for sure kids
institutions
are
and the
impressionable
players,
and
the
don't know
main
how
players
to
of
express their
said
emotions.
institutions.
I don't understand why
And
you would
so,
push kids
maybe-
to make huge decies.
When the mental doesn't have the emotion, when they don't have the mental or emotional capacity to do so. Exactly. Yeah, that's one thing I'm not for. Especially when it comes to propaganda, we've seen it many times with a lot of children. And a lot of times I would see a lot of people, especially when it comes down to gender politics and gender debates, they would try to use the racism thing as a debate. But you can teach people from a young age, kids from a young age, to not mistreat someone of the other race or other color. Bad. Yes, that's gender. That's different. It's not like kids are gonna go outside and then
What's up,
and
Fo?
play
How
with
are you doing,
play
Cut?
with their genitals and stuff with each other. That's different to teaching someone about gender, bro. So it's weird. I you want to have one of these debates with a liberal, but I have to read up a lot more on the current atmosphere of these debates, and I want to come with some strong talking points. So we learn.
Maybe there should be a discussion about whether
What's
or
up,
not
for how are you doing?
certain main
Vibing,
players need to
chilling
have
today. We're watching
some kind
debates
of a
tonight.
check
Debates
from
and
people
documentaries tonight.
if it's
a
a
learning
democratic
night.
mandate that people are looking for. So Elon Musk, or let's say whoever it is that owns YouTube, or Mark Zuckerberg, or whoever it may be.
He said Elon Musk or whoever owns YouTube. Yo, isn't that Susan? I think her name is Susan.
You know, as I say, I reckon that they have more influence than the majority of politicians.
That's a
Facts.
fantastic
They're not
point.
elected.
That's a good
That's
point.
facts. That's facts. Mr. Beast is a lot more impressionable on the youth than Barack Obama. Kai Cenat is a lot more. Kai Cenat, ISO Speed are a lot more impressionable on the youth than shit. Donald Trump. Like, it's a fact. It's a fact. It's a fact.
Really thought about. That's pretty profound, because if you really think about it, these people control platforms that actually have the reach and the ability to utilize this free speech that we talk about. But what do? I mean, you know, thank God for Elon Musk, right? He brought a bunch of people back. He made X. Obviously, X still has its terms and conditions and everything else like that, but it's way more open than other platforms. But you're right, man. Like Zuckerberg over at Facebook, Adam Massari over at Instagram, all these guys, like, they have more power than politicians do, because they're able to regulate speech on their platforms, which in turn obviously is the vehicle from which you're going to use to get your message out there. And if they don't like what you got to say, then, you know, unfortunately you get canceled.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it is their platform, so understandable. But when it comes to free speech, you're right. There really isn't any free speech, because
There's not.
governments don't control everything. They control a small portion, but these companies do control a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
So
a good point.
That's what it is, you know.
Yeah.
So,
I had a question,
go ahead.
if you don't mind, Hijab. What do you think about Christianity and atheism separately?
Yeah, this might be a little segue, but Dan, do you believe that? What do you believe has more influence on the people, right? Social media, or what the government says or does? I believe social media could cause a countrywide or a generational wide changing type of like riot. I think social media, and these social media companies, are a lot more powerful than a lot of people think they are. I think they're a lot more powerful than a lot of people, like a lot more governments too as well. A lot of governments, especially like the smaller ones, cause shit. Especially with the reach it has, yeah, it's kind of
So we'll
crazy.
take it one at a time.
Yeah.
Sure.
Obviously, like with Christianity, as Muslims, we believe in Christ. We
Listen,
believe that
water,
Christ is the Messiah. We believe that he's a prophet. We believe that he was sent by God. That we believe that he was given wonders and miracles and signs, as it's mentioned in the book of Acts in the Bible. You know, in the book, he was a man amongst men that was sent with wonders and miracles and signs that God did through him. That's a biblical verse.
Right.
And that biblical verse there in the
Alright,
book
they
of
started
Acts
the
is everything
event.
we agree with. That God did those things through him. So we believe that, you know, Christ cured the leper, that he cured the blind with God's permission. But here's the difference between Islam and Christianity. So whereas we would say as Muslims,
I believe that
Christ
social
was, yes,
media
he was
is
the
used
Messiah,
by
he was one of the
powerfully
greatest.
people influence people into doing and believing certain things they want us to.
I think these private companies like that own like these huge social media corporations, I think they have a lot more power than a lot of people think, because it's like a direct connection to the masses, right? And if you can get your own propaganda and your own little like uprising to fuel, then it's gonna like by default affect the government. So like let's look at something as simple as BLM. What happened with George Floyd? That went extremely viral, and what happened next? What happened next? Did you see how that like impacted governments around the world, bro? BLM was like, it kind of like took like the pandemic by storm. So that's why that kind of like opened my eyes to like, yo, like social media is up there when it comes to government. And to be honest, if you look a lot of a lot of like theories from guys like very like smart minds back in the day, they said that it's gonna go that the world and the political state of the world is going to go from governments to private owned companies. Like the power is going to go from governments to private owned companies. And I see this is definitely one way how it can happen. Especially when these companies are starting to make money like billions and stuff like that. And what's the worth of Facebook? It's almost going towards the trillions really soon. Same thing for Apple. Apple is in the trillions. Like it's getting ridiculous, bro.
Is people whoever graced this earth, we consider anybody who rejects Christ not to be a Muslim. So this is something which excommunicates you from the religion of Islam. Okay. If someone attacks Christ, we would consider them to be a disbeliever of Islam. You cannot be a Muslim and reject or attack or besmirch Jesus Christ. It's impossible. Likewise, you cannot be a Muslim and attack or abuse or besmirch Mary, son of Mary, which is the mother of Christ. Those two figures are mentioned in the Quran. In fact, Allah mentions that Mary is the best woman on the earth. وَاصْطَفَاكِ عَلَى نِسَاءِ الْعَالَمِينَ. That He has chosen you above all women on the earth, even more so than any of the prophets' wives or any of the prophets' daughters or anybody else. So Mary for us is the most important woman to have ever lived. There's a whole chapter in the Quran, chapter 19, which
America
is
a perfect example. It's crazy how they got people so divided into left and right, and they're pushed into these spaces by social media.
Jesus is God or the Son of God. That's the main
difference. Great point. That's a great point.
We do not believe that Jesus can be God. We do not believe that it's conceivable, it's intelligible, or that it's possible that anybody with a date of birth is God. Let me say that again. We do not believe that it's possible, that it's conceivable or intelligible that anybody with a date of birth.
And a lot of that, Dan,
God is the eternal.
Dan, a lot of that could just be decided for like, especially for the young kids coming up. A lot of that is just decided by TikToks. They see a couple of TikToks of a guy they like or someone they like, and they listen to some stuff they agree with, and now people are ready to go out there and argue for like 3 hours on left and right, and why right is the right side and left is the right side.
Be right back, twin.
Take your time, buddy.
Jesus is not the eternal, at least the physical manifestation of Him. He was born of a certain time. He had a mother. You know, in the Quran it says, "Kana yakulani ta'am," that him and his mother used to eat food, which indicates limitation. Because if you're eating food, how can you be God? So the point is that we believe that Jesus never even claimed to be God. There is no good evidence that Jesus claimed to be God. There's scanty evidence in the Bible, and the Bible itself is an unpreserved text we consider to be.
Jesus called himself, or he self-proclaimed that he's in the Trinity, and he says the Trinity is 3 in 1. So yes, he did. There is proof of that in the Bible, but I gotta see where he goes with this.
So it's a corrupted text. So our views on Christianity is as follows. We agree that Christ and Mary are great figures, but we think that history has distorted the image of Christ and Mary, and this idea of the Trinity was a historical development. That what happened was, in the Roman Empire, when Constantine adopted Christianity, because what happened in the beginning was Christians were a persecuted minority. Then what happened was in the year 313 there was the Edict of Milan, and Constantine, who was the then emperor of the Roman Empire, he embraced Christianity. He had a dream and so on, and then he embraced Christianity, and then he spread Christianity throughout the Roman Empire. That's how Christianity spread. When Christianity spread, the Roman Empire already had mythologies that were adopted from ancient Greek mythologies, like Mithraism, for example.
Yeah.
You can check out Mithraism online. And most of these mythologies consisted of a godhead of some sorts. Father, son, this kind of relationship. Mm-hmm. And so it's easy to see that in the Roman Empire, how Christianity evolved due to the adoption, amalgamation, and synthesis of these ideas, which were otherwise, you could say, pantheistic, polytheistic ideas, mythological ideas, into the canon of Christianity. And that is even evidenced by some of the what you call early church fathers. So you have someone called Justin Martyr, and he's in his works, he's discussing in primary source materials, he's saying that just as you guys believe in Jupiter and the sun, we also believe in the Father and the Son. So in other words, he's trying to make close the proximity between pagan belief and Christian belief. So it's clear that the idea of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit was something which was adopted by the Romans. That's why the early Christians, for example, the Ebionites, didn't believe in this. And the idea of the Trinity is clearly developed such that the Holy Spirit...
So he's trying to say that the Trinity has pagan origins, but from which religion? Or which esoteric religion?
Joined the party as co-equal, co-eternal, only in the late 4th century, according to J. and D. Kelly in his book, Early Church Fathers. So you can see that there was a binitarianism, and then that transformed into a trinitarianism. Now what we're saying is that this whole idea of God, this is not something God sent. It's not something that you even find in the Old Testament. Abraham didn't believe in the Trinity. That's what the Quran states. It says, "Ma kana Ibrahimu Yahudiyan wala Nasraniyan," that Abraham wasn't a Jew or a Christian. He believed, he was submissive to one God. That's what he was. He didn't believe Muhammad. We don't say that he did. He was the prophet of the time.
Right.
So Abraham didn't believe in the Trinity. We don't believe there's any evidence. There's scanty to no or zero evidence. So this is the point. Islam separates itself from Christianity in so much it says that we don't believe that Jesus was God. It cannot be possible or fathomable, plausible, intelligible, conceivable that a man who is limited is God who is unlimited. A man with a beginning is God which does not have a beginning, and so on. That's the main difference.
So just to respond, I get what you're saying, and I've family as a Christian, Muslim as well, so I do understand both sides of the religion on some level. But let me ask you this. So in that regard, if Jesus isn't God as you say, what about the Bible? Should we follow the Bible as well as a word of God, or no?
You see, that's a great question, because here's what we believe. And it's not just we the Muslims believe it. Yes, we the Muslims believe it, but this is now consensus in Christian scholarship. The idea that the Bible itself now has become corrupted, which means that there have been things that have been put into it and things have been taken out of it, which is why you have contradictory versions of the Bible. You have the New International Version, the King James Version, the Revised Standard Version. All of them have contradictory information. They're not all the same because they depend on different manuscripts. And you can refer to the works of Bruce Mesker, who wrote a book on the corruption of the Bible. He was a Christian himself. So it's not actually controversial in the 21st century to state that the Bible, both the Old and New Testaments, have been corrupted thoroughly. They have been ravaged with corruption.
Ravaged is insane.
They have corruption in every chapter, in fact. And so we, as Muslims, the relationship we have with the Bible is, we would say, there's some truth in it, but some falsehood inside of it. And for us to discern what's the truth, we go to the Quran, because we believe it's the final revelation. You see, it's the final revelation which distinguishes and sieves out and filters out the truth from the falsehood. And so our relationship with the Bible is, we would say, as any historian would, frankly, that some parts of it are veracious and are acceptable, and other parts of it are interpolations, corruptions, and false, frankly.
So I can't argue that the Bible wasn't changed, because things have been changed over a period of time. I'm not going to lie to you there. But back in the day, let's say Moses himself, did he have the Quran?
Pardon?
Moses. The prophets
Yes.
back in the day, did he have the Quran?
So Moses, we believe that Moses was
That's a
sent
good
the
question.
Torah. And that's the same thing as what the Jews believe. So the Torah was sent to
I
Moses.
kinda get what he is saying.
Torah
Believing in
is
a
the
Trinity
Torah.
would be saying that Jesus and the Holy Spirit is on the same level as God, which can't be.
Yeah, it's not logical to, like, go with that form of living, but then the Bible itself says that we are incapable of understanding God and him and his son. So when Jesus was saying that, like, some stuff we're not gonna be able to grasp, and some stuff we're gonna be able to grasp, because he keeps it like really basic and easy to understand. Which can't be, according to scripture, Jesus was sent to the earth to save people. It can also be said that he was sent to the earth to be an example to it's both, to save us and to be an example. It's both, to save us and to be an example. Yeah.
Now, Christians have a book called the Old Testament. Jews have the same book, but they call it the Hebrew Old Testament. The first 5 books of that book is what Jews refer to as the Torah, beginning from Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Numbers, and so on. Now, we would say about this is that this is not actually the Torah. These 5 books are not actually the Torah. But you can see this, number one, in the fact that there's no chain of narration which links Moses to these 5 books. Number 2, that if you see the first manuscripts that we have of the Old Testament in general, they're about 1,000 years after Moses, frankly. They're 1,000 years after Moses. So there's no connection between, for example, the Dead Sea Scrolls or this or whatever it may be, and Moses in a direct way. The second thing is that we believe that there was an original book sent to Moses, and that book was corrupted. But the corruption that we have now of the first 5 books is not necessarily the Torah that Moses was originally sent, but there may be remnants of it which are. So once again, as a historian, look into it. Now, historians say, for instance, there's something called documentary hypothesis. Documentary hypothesis is the idea that there's so many different authors of the Bible. This is the dominant school of thought now in secular history, that there have been so many different kinds of authors of the Bible. They all bring different things to the Bible, and it is what it is. We would say there are some things in the Bible which are true. I mean, if you open the Bible, with all due respect, the first page of the Bible has contradictions inside of it. The first page. For example, it says in the beginning God created the night and the day. And on the first day, God created the night and the day. But on the 4th day, according to Genesis 1, on the 4th day, God created the sun. But how can you have night and day without the sun? On the 3rd day, God created the vegetation, like the plantation, the shrubbery. But how can you have plants and vegetation without the sun? In Genesis chapter 2, verse 5, which is the second page of the Bible, it said that no plant has sprung up yet. So I thought in Genesis chapter 1, it said that on the 3rd day, God created the plants. But then in Genesis chapter 2, verse 5, it says there's no plants. So are there plants or no plants? So there's internal contradictions. There's external contradictions. I mean, that's why most of the people of today in the 21st century have resorted to what you call metaphorizing the biblical text. So they're spiritualizing it. They're saying this is not what it's meant to be. It's just a metaphor. That's why there's so many contradictions inside of it. And this was not the dominant idea back in the days. There's only really the Alexandrian school, who are like Origin of Alexandria and others, that used to do that. But apart from that, no bona fide church father used to do that, frankly. Apart from the Alexandria school. So in other words, people have resorted, to metaphorizing the Bible because of the contradictions inside of it. And they can't solve those contradictions. And so what we would say is that a true book from God cannot have contradictions. That's why the Quran says that if this book was from other than God, you would have found in it many contradictions. لَوَجِدُ فِيهِ اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا. You would have found in it many contradictions. And that's the challenge that we put to humanity. That if the Quran is truly from other than God, then why are there no contradictions inside of it? And so this is one of the many challenges that we put to humanity.
Good.
Okay. Thanks for your explanation. I think it was really good. I just questioned it
That's
because,
a good point.
in my belief, I think Jesus was God and is God, and at the same time, I
believe in the Trinity as well, 3 in 1. But the point that he made up, but the thing is, Jesus said when he was sent to earth in human form. So God purposely weakened himself to come here to teach us the new way to go about being saved and being able to make it into heaven, which is because before he came, you have to give up sacrifices via altars and basically blood sacrifices, where you put a lamb on the altar, you kill it, and every lamb you have to kill was for every sin you have done. But now God came to earth. He taught us how to pray, taught us how to be baptized, and he also lived he lived through the commandments that was given to Moses. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's contradictory to believe that he was 3 in 1. Yes, he's still God, but he's God in a weakened state. 3 in 1. It's hard to believe. It's hard to listen to that
not in the Bible.
because it's not as simple. But then again, if you think about it, what's simple about a being that's just always existed? Nothing is. Nothing is simple about a being that's always existed, that can literally speak solar systems into existence with just his words. Nothing is simple about that. So, yeah.
Like, for example, and he said it was changed numerous times, but how do you dictate what's real and what's not real, in your sense? Because I've seen many times in the Bible where he says, I am God, in different ways. But in your stance, you're saying it's not true because things have changed over the years, but how do you know what's real and what's not in the Bible?
So what is God? Let me ask you this. What is God?
The Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. The one that guides us through our daily life, right?
Do you define God as the all-powerful, the all-knowing? Do you define God in that in those terms, like the beginning, no beginning, no end?
He's talking about if God is omniscient, omnipresent and omniscient, basically all powerful. But yes, you can define it. But then again, if he's all powerful, that means he can do what he wants with his power, as well as holding back.
Sorry to interrupt, Bud, but I'm back, cuh.
You're not really interrupting, bro. We're just here watching this debate and thinking about it.
Who's all powerful, the creator of the universe.
Yes.
Okay, so when you pray to God, you are praying to the creator of the universe.
Yes.
All right. So if you're praying to the creator of the universe and the one who's all powerful, the one who's without limitation, the one who is all knowing and so on, there are many things about Jesus which make him impossible to be God. For example, if he's a human being, he is limited in knowledge. And in fact, if you look at the book of Mark chapter 13, I think verse 34, you'll find that he went to the tree and he didn't know if it was in season. He didn't know when the hour was going to be. For example, he said no one knows when the hour is going to be except for the Father. So if Jesus is God, how comes he's lacking in knowledge when we've already defined God as being all knowledgeable? What would you say to that?
Okay, so
because man, I wish I could have debated him on this, but it's basically God is like he's limiting himself to only the capabilities as a human, because it'd be unfair if a God was walking among us showing us how to live our life, because it's now like, okay, like Jesus never sinned. He was like known to never sin. He's only ever sinned once in his life, and the only time he sinned was when he went to the temple and he was like a reverend in the temple, right? Now, it's not gonna be fair if we don't look at Jesus when he was doing these stuff as a man, but we look at him as a God. Because if we look at him as a God, then it's gonna be like, yo, then I could never amount to being what Jesus was as a person, because I'm not a God. He's already perfect. There's nothing I could do. But when we look at him as a man, like someone who's been weakened down to a man that has flesh, that has to suffer the same type of temptations that we do, then it's easier to relate to him and easier to like go along life with that type of mentality that, you know, through God we can do like anything that strengthens us type stuff. Now, I understand where he's coming from, Hijab, because he's trying to say like, yo, if you're a God, then you're already supposed to be perfect and powerful, and you're always supposed to be perfect and powerful. But do you guys get what I'm saying? Because I feel like what I'm saying is making sense. I'm like, if you're supposed to be an example to us humans,
The Guyanese accent hitting hard, bud.
All right, you can't come down and act like a. You can't come down here and act like a god, bro, or be a god because you're already perfect.
But I get what you're saying.
Yeah, bro. It's not gonna be fair for like the people like us, like that have to suffer these like same type of like trials.
Knowing,
this is a fire debate though. So far,
is his son.
This is a good debate.
Maybe as a father, you don't tell your son everything that you want him to know up front. Maybe things need to be hidden.
But the son is meant to be all-knowing, because the son, Jesus, is meant to be all-knowing. Okay, the Holy Spirit is meant to be God, because the Trinity says the Father is God, the Son is God, the Holy Spirit is God. Mm-hmm. If no one, according to the Bible, it says no one knows the hour except for the Father. Okay, yeah. So does the Holy Spirit know the hour according to the Bible?
I've not seen a verse saying that, but I would assume yes.
No. The verse says the opposite of that. So the verse says that no one knows the hour except for the Father, right? Which means that the Holy Spirit is precluded, is not included in that. So if that's the case, if the Holy Spirit is meant to be God, and the Holy Spirit and being God means knowing everything, then there's a contradiction there. Do you see the point?
Yeah, there is.
I see what you're saying.
If you look at it from that lens, if you look at it from, if you look at that from that stern lens, bro. But if you look at it from my lens, it's not really a contradiction. It's really it can get simplified. But I see the lens he's trying to look at it from. He's looking at it as like, you are what you are and you can't change that. By the end of the day, bro, he's God. He can do what he literally can do what he wants, bro. If he wants to be weaker than an ant tomorrow, he could make that happen. Because he's God. Like, we're not meant to understand this nigga, bro. He's always been, like, he's always existed. He's all powerful. He has all the knowledge in, like, the universe, bro. He knows how things work. He created us. Trying to understand him in and out is literally impossible for us, bro. Literally.
So, if you're speaking to, for example, you know, when you speak to your guests, some of the, on intersexual dynamics or whatever, and then one of them says, you know, if one of those women come, you know, one of those escorts, or sorry to say, well, I don't know what they are. If one of them, I don't know what they are. But let's say one of those escorts come and say, what do you consider yourself? You say to her, what do you consider yourself? So you say, okay, you know, she's a 6. She says, I'm a 7 out of 10. And then 2 minutes later, she says, I'm a 6 out of 10. And then 2 minutes later, she goes, I'm a 1 out of 10. You're going to say this is a grand contradiction. Either that or you're confused.
But if God came himself as a God, for example, Jesus, there would have been no room for contradictions.
Yes, but then he would be a bad example. And that would be a contradiction. He would be a bad example. Because now it's like a perfect being is telling us, yo, you got to be perfect like me. All you got to do is be like me and do the things that I do. But now we're going to look at it as human beings. Like, how can we do that if you're literally built different? How can we do that? Yes, we were built in your image, but we were not built perfectly in your image. You were not built to be exactly like you, or else we would be gods ourselves. We're not gods, we're humans. We're mortal, we die, we bleed. You understand? Like, we're not as smart as you. We can't just speak stuff into existence. So if he came in that frame of just being a god, then it would just be all for nothing. Because it would just be a God working signs and wonders and not a man doing it. You feel me?
To be God, he has to be all-knowing. If the Holy Spirit is meant to be God, he has to be all-knowing. But he can't be all-knowing and not know when the hour is, because then that precludes a part of very essential knowledge. You see the point?
Yes, but just going back to the first thing you said about the Bible contradicting itself, how would I know that hasn't been changed too? See, here's the problem. How would I know that verse hasn't been changed as well? You get what I'm saying?
What verse? Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Then that's it. So you've got layers of problems here. You've got issues here.
But hold on.
You've got one issue that you don't even know what verse has been changed and what hasn't. Then you've got the other issue, which is that the concept of God according to Christianity is contradictory, because you have one God. So Jesus is God, the Son is God. Sorry, the Father is God, the Son is God, and the Holy Spirit is God. But there's only one God, you see. So this ain't no contradiction that I'm outlining right here. Because if you went to your child who's 7 years old and you said to him, look, we believe that the Father is God, the Son is God, and the Holy Spirit is God, but there's only one God, and you do this, and you show your 3 fingers like that.
I understand
I'm pretty
that
sure that your child's
100. I'm
gonna say,
just saying because
"This
now
is a
everything
problem
in the
here,
Bible is
Dad,"
ambiguous
you
and
know?
can be interpreted
Because-
differently.
But then,
This is something which
Yeah,
is basic.
and
that
but then that's what it. Then they say that's why the Holy Spirit is needed, because the Holy Spirit is supposed to be the great. This is what's supposed to help you translate and understand the words of the Bible. You know, but I want to see where he's going with this, because especially if you want to get into like religion, he's making a great like point. Strong
it's a
point.
contradiction in the idea of conception of God.
but then,
All Christians, Catholics believe in this, Protestants believe in this.
Yeah.
And so Islam solves the problem, because what Islam does for you, it says there's only one God. Jesus was not a God. He was, yes, a great man. He was the Messiah. He was a prophet. We accept Jesus. We believe his second coming, all of that kind of stuff. But to believe that he's actually God, that we prayed to him, when he himself, according to the Bible, was on the cross, and he was saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, God, God, why have you forsaken me? Who is he even speaking to then? Like in the Bible, this is what he's mentioned. Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. God, God, why have you forsaken me? So it seems to me that this would be a grand contradiction. And if he did die and then was resurrected, as in Easter, because we're in Easter time, as what the Christians believe. If that was the case, then who was running the universe at that time? You know, what you could say? Well, his body died and his soul didn't. This really, it's hermeneutical gymnastics, mental acrobatics. That's what we have to do in order to believe in things like this, brother. I have to be honest with you.
okay. So just real quick, and then this is my last point here. So you mentioned earlier about showing your son or your daughter 3 fingers, saying one is God. But you mentioned earlier that God is.
I don't think Fresh is the right guy to debate this, because it seems like he's not really like giving like a strong pushback. It's like he's just trying to learn more than actually like break down his arguments and push, and then not really push, but like put forth the beliefs of Christianity.
All-knowing, powerful, almighty, correct? So, as a man, who are we to question his logic and judgment for his creation, which is basically us questioning him as being God? So you're saying 3 in 1 doesn't make sense to us, but may make sense to him. You know what I'm saying? And then, just real quick here, you mentioned Jesus isn't God
You
as
can
well.
use that argument with every single girl that comes on your podcast and says, look, I'm a transgender, I'm this, I'm that. We'll say, look, it doesn't make sense to you, but it makes sense to God. It makes sense. Truth is not relative. Truth is objective.
But hold on.
Like, for example, if I said 2 + 2 = 4, you cannot say, well, 2 + 2 = 4 to me, but it doesn't mean it to you or to God. If 2 + 2 = 4 is not something which is static, all kinds of absurdities will result. So, for example, the law of non-contradiction, yeah? That you cannot have 2 opposite things at the same place at the same time existing together. You cannot have a tall, short man. You cannot have, a squared circle and so on and so forth. If you do away with this rule, then any absurdity follows. That's a logical precept. If you do away with the law of non-contradiction, any absurdity follows, which means truth is not even it's not even something which is obtainable anymore. There's no such thing as truth.
That would
If you remove the laws of logic, then there is no such thing as truth. An absurdity can follow from that.
Yeah, that would apply to people, human beings, but to God, you're putting a law or restriction. You know what I'm saying? But real quick, so
Exactly.
no, just on this point, I wouldn't agree, because I'm saying to you that the laws of logic apply. God is the one who
The thing
we
I
would say
don't like
he is
about
the one
religion
who
is that people
set
still
the
take and use things to push their agenda, like racism in the 10 Commandments. It says L.
Huh? Oh, let me read that. Why does it not read the whole thing? Like racism. In the 10 Commandments, it says, love thy neighbor, yet we have racism. It says you shouldn't covet thy neighbors, yet we have colonization and wars over resources. Yes, and that's bad. That's bad, because especially like, let's say back in the day with the pilgrimage and what do you call it? What the Roman Catholic had, when they were just going into different lands and pillaging and taking natural resources in the name of God. What was that called? The Crusades, yes. When they were having the Crusades and they were using that in the name of God, that was actually like what they did was really evil, bro. That was actually extremely evil, and that was just like, it was putting out a false narrative on how Christians should act and behave, bro. And that's why you have a lot of people nowadays like that they don't have any trust in Christianity as a religion, bro, because of what happened back in the day with the Catholic Church and some other churches as well, but mainly the Catholic Church, because it's like the biggest denomination.
People are just shit.
You could say that for sure. If people were following the 10 Commandments to the T, we wouldn't have colonization, we wouldn't have slavery. Well, especially from these like European countries that claim to be Christian countries, we wouldn't have colonization, racism. We wouldn't have wars over natural resources, because that's a form of greed. Yeah.
Laws of logic himself. The thing is, if you don't believe in the laws of logic and, for example, non-contradiction, or for example, 2 + 2 = 4, if you don't believe in any of that, then you can't have a conversation with anyone about anything, because there's no common ground. But you can never find out what truth is.
Okay, so creation itself, who decided 2 + 2 = 4? Man did, right? I'm just saying, on a basis, 2 + 2, who decided that?
Who decided 2 + 2 = 4? Is that a serious question? With all due respect,
I'm asking you.
No one
He's trying to make a point.
2 = 4,
So how did it come about?
2 + 2. Look, mathematics is a language. Yeah, mathematics is a language, and it's actually it's a tautology. So tautology is when you say the same thing twice. 2 + 2 is an expression of 4. So the equal sign in mathematics shows that 2 + 2 is equivalent to 4. Do you get it? So it's like saying a tautology is, if I'm saying it's raining, I'm saying the same thing twice. It's always true. So because in logic, a tautology is always true, anything with an equal signs in mathematics is also always true. So it's not, no one decided that. That's something which you call an objective truth. And if you don't have it, you won't be able to do physics, you won't be able to do science, you can't do logic, you can't do it. You can't even have a conversation.
Cooking fresh.
Let me tell you something, brother. I'll be honest with you, my friend. What is your name again? Fresh. My friend, if you really believed in what you're talking about right now, which is that you're okay to think that potentially the laws of logic or mathematics can be relative, then really, like, the where you're seated right now.
That's not the argument, though. The argument
what is the argument?
If I'm God and I'm the creator, I'm almighty, I don't follow the rules of logic or whatever you say as man. Why would I do that?
I make the rules. Exactly. And that's the point I'm trying to get across as well. If I am God, bro, whatever I says just goes. It just goes. If I say I'm 3 and 1, but 1 + 1 is 2, yes, 1 + 1 is 2 to y'all. But if I say I'm 3 and 1, if I say I could be the son, I could be the father, I could be the mother, all at the same time, I can. I am God, bro. Like, I know it sounds like unlogical to think that way, but bro, if the person literally can make atoms, if the person can literally speak a sun into existence, how much times do I have to use that explanation? But it's true. When I'm above like the laws of physics itself and time and spirit and spirituality and emotion and logic, and when I'm above these laws, of course I'm not gonna make sense to you, because you can't grasp it, because you're bound to these laws. So it's not gonna click in your head. It's not supposed to click in your head, because you are not granted this knowledge. You're not granted this power. So at some point, when it comes to trying to like understand God, you're just gonna have to humble yourself, and you're gonna have to understand that, like, yo, yes, it doesn't make sense to me. But then again, when I say, yo, let there be light, no sun just turns up out of nowhere. Or when I say, let there be water, water just doesn't appear out of nowhere. So I'm not going to be able to understand this entity, this being, because we don't work on the same playing field. We're not on the same level.
I don't know from your opinion. It's like us trying to understand God. It's like a stick figure trying to understand what it is to
look left and look right. He can't understand what it is to look left and look right. He can only understand what it is to go forward and backward. He can't step to the left or to the right because he's stuck in 2D. That's a good explanation right there. He's stuck in 2D. He's bound to that dimension. Just like how we're bound to the dimension we're in, God is above that dimension right there.
And how can you question God himself?
But the thing about Islam, what I'm starting to see now is they're trying to make sure that we understand everything about God, aka Allah. And some of the stuff we're just not going to be able to understand, bro. They want to break down everything and simplify it. Yes, you can break down some stuff and simplify it, but if you're trying to understand a being that's above you dimensionally and smarter than you, how?
If he's a creator almighty.
I'm telling you, brother, that 2 + 2 = 4. 2 + 2 = 4 is something which is tautological.
Yeah, for man.
It is something which is true always, and it's objectively true.
It's a good debate, man. I wish if I was in this room, I'd be going that route. I would be going that route right there. Fresh is doing a good idea of going that route, but Hijab wants to understand everything, this and that, and he wants everything to be straightforward, plotted out, written down. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. The world doesn't work like that, though. But yeah,
True for God as well. Yes.
No, but you're putting that on God himself. How can you?
I'm not putting it on God. God put it on us.
You just did.
God put that on us.
No, as man, but not
God
as God
put that
himself.
on us. I don't put anything on God. God made it so that the universe, and our minds, a priori, all the logical precepts that we come to, are based on what you call the laws of logic. You get it? If you do away with the laws, like I said before, if you do away with the laws of logic, everything fails. You get me? You can't have a discussion about anything.
We're gonna disagree on this point, but
okay, no problem.
The fact is 2 + 2 is 4 in the human world. I'm just saying in God's realm, it could be in anything. But
what's God's realm? I'm proposing that 2 + 2 = 4 in every possible world. That's what I'm proposing.
But how do you know? You're not God.
If you put it on
that's a good point. How would you know if you've not been to those realms? What if you get to the next realm and 2 + 2 is explosion? 2 + 2 is cartwheel. I know it sounds stupid, but bear with me. Try to use your imagination.
If you put it in a modal logic format, it's the same thing.
No. Okay.
With a possible worlds format, like for example, if you something called modal logic, you got there's no contradiction in that. For you to say 2 + 2 is not equal to 4 in all possible worlds, you have to show me a contradiction of 2 + 2 = 4.
No, but I'm not talking about, for example, us as human beings.
But let me be honest with you, Fresh.
Yeah.
I honestly don't believe that you would put your life on the fact that 2 + 2 is not equal to 4 in every possible world. But you are forced to talk about it like this because you know you cannot defend the Trinity without rejecting logic.
Well, the reason why is because you mentioned before the Bible has contradictions, so I don't want to go into that because obviously speaking, you could just say it's wrong or right. I'm just saying, naturally, if you look at God as a creator, the all being almighty, if he decides 2 + 2 is 3, how can you question?
It's not, okay. 2 + 2 you cannot be decided to be 3. Because what that would be, that itself, that process is an impossibility.
The Trinity defends itself.
It's like saying God can create a squared circle. So the process of deciding that 2 + 2 = 3 is not possible in the real world. It's in the category.
God can create a squared circle. He can create a tall, short person. He's God. He could just say it and it's gonna happen, bro. Now, will we be able to perceive that being or that shape? Maybe not. But he can. You saying that he can't do it makes it sound like he's not all powerful then. And then Allah's not all powerful if he can't just do that. If he can't make something that's contradictory, then he's not all powerful. Because his powers are then limited to something that has to be logical. That's what you're saying. And if his powers are limited to something that's logical, then they're limited. Simple as that.
Classification called impossibilities. Do you get it? And impossibilities cannot exist in the real world. So, for example, a squared circle cannot exist in the real world. Likewise, the decision or the act of deciding that 2 + 2 = 3 cannot be made true in the real world. Do you get it?
I got you, bro.
Okay, let's move on to the next thing, brother. We can think about this in our own time. Religion. I wanted to speak about more your stuff, guys, because I know you guys do intersexual dynamics. Let me ask you a question, guys. I want to get to it, which is, what do you decide is a high value man? And I want Myron on this one as well, because we spoke about religion. I let people decide what they think is right, but you guys are, let's say, you're specialists now. This is your area. I want to pick your brains a little bit, because I think you don't know, your impact is actually quite a significant impact. And I think that you actually made some very interesting contributions, especially what now they call it the men's rights movement, or, men's activism and so on. And I think some of your contributions, frankly, are good. I've heard some of them. I watched on YouTube. I wanted to start with this question. What do you guys think is a high value man? How do you define it?
Go first? Go ahead.
You good?
No, you go ahead, man.
Nah, I don't want to continue real quick. I got to.
Okay.
I want to go further in religion, but it's fine. Go ahead.
No, I mean, y'all can if you guys want. After.
Let's change topic.
So, I mean, this is a subjective thing, right? For everyone, it's going to be different. So I don't really think there's a truly wrong or right answer. But what I will say is that it's going to probably err on the side of, obviously, a higher earner than average, someone who has respect from other individuals, has a network of people that are also on his level, as far as status, whether it's financial, social, etc. And he's somebody that other people want to essentially be like. I mean, to put it bluntly, is the guy that other women want to be with and other men want to be. If I'm going to put it.
Basically, a high value man is just a powerful man. Basically, it's a powerful man. That's what he's describing. A high value man is a powerful man. Simple. You want the most clear definition of a high value man? CEO of a big company, Bill Gates, Putin, Donald Trump, Xi Jinping. If you want to take it down a couple notches, you could look at people like some billionaires, Elon Musk. Who else? You could look at some sports athletes, LeBron James, Cristiano Ronaldo, Leo Messi, just powerful people in their field, bro. Are very respected people in their field.
Very simply.
What about you, Fresh? What do you say about this?
So the term high value,
someone that's the best in their field.
It's being used around.
Yeah, we hate using that term. We never use it. We actually never use that term.
Yeah.
Ever. I hate it.
But it means something in the world today, so we use it sparingly. But I would say high value man.
I'm intrigued by it.
Yeah.
I'm not throwing what you're saying out the window.
Yeah.
Fresh, were you gonna say something?
No. I was gonna
That
just
kind
define high value for
contradicts
me.
the person Jesus was
Go on,
when he
ahead,
was
please,
on
yeah.
earth.
So it just means a man that has
What?
worked on himself.
What do you mean?
He's successful in his own right.
I realize
People around him care about
my
him, I respect him.
stream is a
And at
little
the
delayed.
same time, has value to the marketplace. For example, maybe it could be singing. It could be, for example, his business. It could be, for example, his skill set. To the public, whatever that may be, makes him high value in the eyes of other people as a whole. That's what I would say.
Would you say that, and this is a question to both of you, is this an intrinsic classification or is it extrinsic? In the sense that if it's intrinsic, then, for example, like a block of gold, it has intrinsic value. But let's say, for example, that let's say a TikToker, yeah, doing some kind of a video dancing or something like that. You couldn't say that has intrinsic value, but its value is dictated by the marketplace. So is your classification of a high value man, is it more intrinsic or extrinsic in that sense?
So I would say
The person fit described as a high value man.
That kind of contradicted Jesus as a person when he was on earth. Well, it depends which field you're looking at. If you're just looking at it at a political field, then Jesus wouldn't really be considered high value. But then if you look at it at a spiritual field, especially if Jesus was to come back to the earth today, he'd be high value, no doubt. No doubt. Maybe back then on the spiritual field, because he was upcoming and then he left before he could see the impact of what he's done, he wouldn't really be considered like high value. But now as time progressed, bro, if Jesus was to step on earth tomorrow, bro, like, he'd probably be the most valuable man out there. No cap. No kidding, bro. Like, all these powerful figures, all these powerful people, they wouldn't really matter that much because he'd be definitely at the top of the hierarchy, bro.
Say is up to the individual because I made a song, High Value Man, funny song by the way, but the term itself, high value, was used as a precursor for wearing watches and chains and having success, cars and girls. But that was my opinion at the time of what high value was. But as you evolve, you become more placed on different aspects of life, and maybe for you, maybe just a TikToker that's on the internet with a lot of views. So I think it's just up to the person or individual what they decide for that to be.
I mean, it's a combination.
See, I've got a take on this, guys. I don't know what you guys think of this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello?
No, go ahead.
We got you.
Yeah. Sorry. So I was gonna say, look, I get what you guys are saying, especially when you speak about men and women. Yeah. But
spiritually, for sure, but spirituality does not feature at all when people describe a high-value man today.
But I think
it doesn't. But then again, that's because science has, like, it came forward and it's a lot more like it's a lot more impactful today than spirituality, right? So if Jesus was to come back today, hypothetically, he would shift that pendulum, because science is basically kind of like, a lot of science, especially modern science, was like trying to prove that Jesus never existed, and evolution and evolutionary theory and going along those lines. But if Jesus was to come back and he was to prove that, hey, I'm the Son of God, do a couple of miracles, walk on water again, no hoax or anything, then it would shift that pendulum back to spirituality, and then the preachers, the pastors, and the Pope, they would just rise way higher to higher levels in status than we've seen ever in the 21st century.
It's mostly in the economic marketplace. So, for example, here's what I would say. When you guys use the term high value,
some of these religious books. I gotta read the Quran a little more.
Would be attracted to, i.e., vis-a-vis something like hypergamy. And there's ample evidence. There's a Queen study, like, which I think is the most authoritative, that hypergamy is true. Like, in the sense that if a woman is given a choice between a man with a, like, ceteris paribus, everything else remaining the same, a man who's a higher earner versus a lower earner, she's always going to go for the higher earner, in fact. And that's the truth. Likewise, a lot of the stuff about what you say about women who have less experience in a what you call a body count or something like that, it's true that that's probably in the market, sexual market value is probably going to be less ceteris paribus, everything else remaining the same.
Mm-hmm.
Herever,
maybe for Jesus coming back and teaching things would disprove a lot of what these people are preaching today.
This is why I asked you the question about, like, intrinsic versus extrinsic.
Yeah, because there's a lot of different denominations, especially in Christianity, that have a lot of, like, contrasting beliefs, and he would definitely, like, Jesus coming back, whatever he says would be super impactful on how religion and Christianity, Islam is going to play out for the coming decades and centuries and stuff.
However, how the other or the opposite gender sees that person for marriage or long-term committal relationship or even casual relationship, that this whole high-value man has weight. This term has weight. But if we're talking about intrinsically, as, like, for example, remember I gave you the example of the block of gold versus the TikTok video. Intrinsically, a high-value man has always classically meant, usually in ethics, for example, all the way up to Christian morality and Islamic morality and Jewish morality, most of the world's cultures, a high-value man or a high-value woman has always been like a virtuous man or a virtuous woman. So virtue dictates the value of someone on an intrinsic level. Virtue. So what is virtue? Like, in the past, even before Christ, you had a person called Aristotle, who died 323 BCE. He wrote a book called Nicomachean Ethics, and he had something called virtue ethics, which basically
Now, if we're going this route, then Jesus is a high value man. If we're going off of morality, ethics, yeah. If we're not going the resources, political power having route, then yeah. Same thing for the Prophet Muhammad. The same thing for the Buddha. Yeah, they're all high value men and highest of values because, yeah,
mention some of the key virtues for human beings. The most important one for a man that makes him high value, opposite to a woman, and this is what I'm putting forward, in that paradigm, and also in the paradigm of Islam and Christianity, I would argue, and Judaism, is bravery. I'll put it this way. If you had the most rich man in the world, but he was a coward, he'd not be a high value man. It would be a disqualifier on an intrinsic level. Yes, he might be sought after. It might be sought after in terms of like women might still want to be with him, but they don't really want to be with him because of what he is or who he is. They want to be with him because of what he can offer. In other words, they want to be with his money, really. They want to have access to his money. So they're using him, utility value. Yeah, they're using him for his money because they're trying to access funds. That's what they're trying to do. He's basically an ATM machine.
And that's true today. A lot of these women that get with these rich guys, they don't respect them. If that rich guy was to go broke the next day, a lot of them, oh, I'm sorry. And we see this a lot with athletes as well, bro. A lot of these athletes, when they start making money, I don't think this is gonna work out. The spark, the love is just isn't there anymore. It's because they're looking at this guy as an ATM machine. Some of these guys are on top of their game when they're getting these wives. So they're like super famous, super sought after. Like they go for the guy at the peak of their life, peak of their prime. And if you don't have all those qualities that he's talking about in terms of courage, you're brave, assertive, knowledgeable in multiple fields, then yeah, she's gonna leave you, bro. She's gonna leave you, especially if the money is not like, you know, coming like how it used to come back in the day.
And so what I wanted to distinguish between is a high value man on an intrinsic level who exhibits things like temperance, magnanimity, forgiveness, mercy, kindness, but most and chief most among which is bravery, because a man needs bravery more than a woman to provide and protect.
So yeah. I would agree with that. But my thing is that's why I was because you only spoke about it from the female lens, like how women deem like women deeming the guy high value. But what I'm saying is that you garner the respect of other men, and a coward does not garner the respect of other men. That's why it's very important. Like when I look at this term, not to just look at it from the lens of what females are attracted to, rather what do other men respect.
Good point.
And obviously cowardice is never respected. So yeah, if someone's a coward, then they automatically are disqualified because other men don't respect them. They can have all the money in the world, but they're a coward. So I see a perspective with virtue, but I'm saying, like, you know, when you
but even women don't respect cowards, bro. What do you mean? Even women don't respect cowards. Like it's true among like among both lens. Like if a woman
coward, he'd not be a high using him for his
if money. A woman could sense that you're a coward, bro, you better have something that makes up for that. Whether it's security, money, or assets of some sort. Or else she's just it's gonna turn her off a lot quicker than you not having money, in my opinion. Being a coward is gonna turn a woman off a lot quicker than you not having money, because women still give guys that are like guys with no money, but that, you know, show that they can protect a woman, more chances than the coward that is broke. For sure.
Because they're trying to access.
Even a coward that's rich. A lot of these guys that are rich, if a woman could smell that you're a coward, they won't really like have the time of day for you, bro.
Funds. That's what they're trying to do. He's basically an ATM machine. And so what I wanted to distinguish between is a high value man on an intrinsic level who exhibits things like temperance, magnanimity, forgiveness, mercy, kindness, but most and chief most among which is bravery, because a man needs bravery more than a woman to provide and protect.
So yeah. I would agree with that. But my thing is that's why I was because you only spoke about it from the female lens, like how women deem like women deeming the guy high value. But what I'm saying is that you garner the respect of other men, and a coward does not garner the respect of other men. That's why it's very important. Like when I look at this term, not to just look at it from the lens of what females are attracted to, rather what do other men respect. And obviously cowardice is never respected. So yeah, if someone's a coward, then they automatically are disqualified because other men don't respect them. They can have all the money in the world, but they're a coward. So I see a perspective with virtue, but I'm saying, like, you know, when it's pretty much already implied that you're a virtuous man and that you're not a coward when other men respect you, because men, we tend to value other men based on their meritocracy, and that meritocracy is, you know, encapsulated in a bunch of different traits. Are you honest? Are you a man of your word? Are you trustworthy? Can I trust you to get something done and get it done when you say you're going to get it done? Are you willing to stand up for not just yourself but for other people that you love and care about? So cowardice has never been respected. So I would say that the virtue, that argument that you're making, which I agree with actually, falls into the other men respecting you, because that's what men respect, is meritocracy.
Well, I see what you're saying, but here's the thing. So this is an interesting parameter, but it's also an economic one. So for example, I agree with what you said. I think like other men would respect another man with a lot of money, right? Yeah. And they would never respect a man who's a coward, even if he has a lot of money. Yeah. So that's the point. I think that a lot of the red pill stuff, like that we get involved in and stuff, or the discussions that we have, we overemphasize how much money we have to make in order to satisfy or to attract other women. And we underemphasize the virtue aspect of it. And I'm not saying that the money aspect of it is not important. I'm pretty sure that the money aspect of it is important, especially depending on how generous the man is. Because if the man is not generous, and which is one of the virtues, having a lot of money is not a problem. It doesn't matter. Even the woman, if she finds him to be stingy and wealthy, that combination will never work out because she knows what he's trying to do. So I feel like maybe, I don't know, moving forward with like Fresh and Fit and stuff, if we focus on the virtue aspect of things a little bit more, because I feel like the society is moving on to a degenerate state, bro. I'm not going to lie to you.
It's already there.
And that is fueled by hedonism and capitalism.
It's already there.
Idea that now Mammoth is the new god, which is the god of money. The god of money is the new god. People are now chasing money and hedonism and frivolous pursuits. They think that, for example, Rollo Tomasi wrote a book called The Rational Male, right? Mm-hmm. You've had him on your show before. I've read the entire book cover to cover. And he mentions in his book that, you know, you need to sleep with 50 women or whatever it may be in order to achieve certain level, so you can really have the experience, to be with women. I think I've seen you, Fresh, mention something like that before, because I watched a video before with you guys in Sneaker having a discussion. Yeah, we've all
Fresh calls it spinning. Not Fresh, excuse me. Rollo calls it spinning plates or plate theory. Yeah. He's 50. I call it getting experience, right, and being able to understand how the sexual marketplace works. But yeah, I mean, sorry, you're saying.
But on this point, bro, here's what I would say. Yeah. There is no evidence that having sex with a lot of women translates into an ability to understand women in the context of a committed relationship or longevous relationship. There is no evidence of that. So for this is where the red pill makes a lot of claims, assertions, but they're not backed, because the idea is, I feel like there's just ad hoc justifications and rationalization for hedonism, which is effectively just doing whatever you want, whatever you desire. But really, like, let's assess this claim, the claim that if you have sex with a lot of women, that's going to lead to you knowing women more and therefore having a stronger relationship, more longevous relationship with some kind of woman. But it doesn't seem to me that there's any evidence to that effect, because I was looking at some studies on casual sex. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And I was looking at, it was like 5 or 6 of them that have been done. And all of those studies, they're first of all, they're mixed, they're contradictory, funny enough. Some of them say that, yeah, they harm women. Actually, most of them say they harm women. Casual sex harm women. That is a consensus psychological finding.
It harms men too, a lot of these studies, but it doesn't harm it.
Some of them say it harms men, some of them say it doesn't harm men.
Yeah, both
there's no study that says it helps them in relationships. Do you know what I mean?
Of course not, and they would never run a study like that because it would be considered unethical, right? And we know that, you know, when they run these studies, they have to be politically correct. They got to get funding. They have to do it in a certain way to get the blessing. But what I will say is, with the whole body sleeping with women or whatever it may be, it's not necessarily to understand women better. It's to understand the women that you don't want to necessarily be with, and I think that's half the game, because what ends up happening, right, and remember, I mean, you're in the UK, so you know this too. I mean, the UK is going through this as well. We live in a very hypersexualized world where women are more promiscuous than ever before. So my thing is, right, I look at it like, and I was just having a discussion with Andrew. He's a devout Orthodox Christian, and he saw my perspective on this too. If you're gonna try to meet a woman in the West where they are promiscuous, they don't necessarily adhere to gender roles when it doesn't benefit them. They want a man that makes money, but they don't want to necessarily submit, etc. I think it's very important for you as a man to identify these women early on and not bring them into your life, because the beauty of religion, right, whether it's Christianity, Islam, or Judaism, is that it basically had an institution of shame, and it had what I call training wheels to keep women honest with their man. It pretty much shamed them for not doing things that they were supposed to do. But these training wheels are effectively gone. We live in a secular world now, and unless you're a very religious man and you're meeting a very religious woman, it's going to be very difficult for you to find a woman that's virtuous. So my thing is, I think if and the other reason why I think this is so important is because
Freshandfit.
When you get married, right?
Yeah, you know the vibes.
In Islam, you can just go to a mosque, go to an imam, he'll marry you, boom, done. You don't got to worry about the state being involved. But most people don't get married that way. They get married through the state. And with the way the family courts are set up, with the way divorce is set up, with the way it's basically an entire industry against men, I look at it like, if you're going to go ahead and you want to have a family one day, which is the nuclear family, which is the backbone of society, and you want to get married, you are taking on a tremendous amount of risk, and I don't want you to go in blind. However, if you're getting married and the state isn't involved and there's no severe consequences to you financially, then sure, go ahead and be less sexually experienced and meet a woman, because at least you're not going to be severely punished for it. But my thing is, the reason why I even gave that idea, like, hey, get with more women so that you understand them, is because I just don't want men to deal with the horrors of the family court. Now, is it the best solution? Probably not, but I think it's a pragmatic one given the world that we're in now.
Yeah.
So what? No, here's the thing. I just want to know what the evidence is of, for example, having intercourse with multiple women. What benefit, like let's say 50 to 30, what benefit are you alleging that it has on the man?
No,
what benefit are you alleging?
So that's a fair question. Every man has different competence, right? So like one guy might be able to hook up with 10 girls and be like, okay, you know what, I get it. Like I don't, it is what it is. But another guy, might be incompetent, might be an idiot. Everyone's, level of adaptation is different. So I'm not saying, have a hard 50 and don't get married. It's like, no.
Yo, Cha, on which girl did it take y'all to realize how women kind of like how women think, especially on an animalistic level? I would say it took me like, I think it was my third relationship. Because I had like a couple relationships in like high school, but they were pretty short. One was like a month, the other was like a week, so it didn't really count for me. It was really my third relationship that lasted like a year, when I was able to like, and I lied, the third one, that was the baddest one. And I think it's the best when it's like
my first
with
bitch
the baddest
LMAO.
one. Damn, everyone is their first. Nigga, okay, my first relationship was super short, and then the second one was like a month, 2 months, so we didn't really understand each other. And then the third one, a year. And bro, this is how it ended, bro. This is when I realized, like, yo, a lot of these women are fucking selfish, bro. She was like, we was on a phone call, right? And she was like, yo, why don't you give me enough time? This was in the pandemic. Why don't you give me more time in my life? I was like, yo, right now I'm kind of distant because it was like literally like 3 weeks after my grandmother just died, and I just wanted a little bit of time to myself, so I wasn't like texting and calling her like regularly, like, And regularly when I call her, it would be like at least 4 times a week, at least 4 to 6 times a week. Sometimes every day I would call her, but it came down to like once a week. And if I called her, it would be for like 30 minutes, right? And then she's like, yo, you haven't been giving me enough time. What's up? I told her, like, yo, my grandma just passed. I just want some time to myself. She's like, okay, I understand. 2 days later, she calls me. She texts me on Instagram. She's like, yo, I don't think this is going to work. You haven't been giving me enough attention, enough time to like, motherfucking, you know what I mean? To feel loved. I'm like, yo, feel loved? Like, where's my love? I told her straight up, where's my love? Like, I'm literally going through some loss right now. You don't even know how important my grandma was to my life, bro. The majority of my life growing up, bro, I used to like spend my time at my grandma's house. I would go home. My grandma would literally help me do my chores and shit, teach me how to cook. Like, she was kind of like my mom, bro. Kind of like my mom. And my mom and my dad they were definitely my life. It's just I ended up, because they work so much, I ended up spending most of my time with my grandma. I told her this, it's like she didn't even care. It's like it went through one ear, came out the other ear, bro. And I started to realize, like, yo, this shorty really just selfish, bro. Because imagine if it was the other way around, bro. And I was just thinking, like, imagine her grandma died, bro. She would want me to be calling her every day, almost every hour, checking up on her, making sure she's good. If she wanted space, I had to give her the space exactly when she wanted the space. All that extra shit, bro. And I was just thinking, like, yo, like, these women, bro, they don't give a fuck. They kind of really don't give a fuck unless they're getting shit their way. And ever since then, like, I ain't gonna lie, that shit low-key turned me into, like, I'm coming down from that, but I just went on a rampage, bro. Like, it was just a bunch of sex. I stopped caring. Yo, on God, Greg, it literally turned me nonchalant, bro. I just stopped caring, bro. I stopped caring. Like, bro. It would have times girls would just be dead crying in my face, like, I don't understand you, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, shut up. I'm like, shut up. Like, I didn't give a fuck, bro. I was just numb. I was numb, bro. I was numb. Don't express your feelings to a girl ever if you're feeling her. Even if you're feeling her, bro. I feel like expressing your feelings is for your wife, bro. And then even with your wife, you don't want to express too much of your feelings. It's sad this generation is like this. Yo, the women are like fucking, like, bro, I feel like if it was a girls and ladies from the 90s and 80s, what's up, Jordan? You could easily talk about your feelings all day. You could talk about your feelings all day and it wouldn't change shit. But now if you talk about your feelings to a girl from this generation, bro, it's a ick. It's a turn off, bro. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy. It's crazy. Shit's crazy.
Oh, if you find a girl that's worthy, that's fine. And I would argue that, like, our podcast is like, we're able to kind of fast line it where, you know, remember, this information hasn't been out for very long. So people are kind of learning now through us talking about it on our platform, etc. So they might not necessarily have to even hit 50 because they're learning from our mistakes. You know, the Chinese saying,
what if they do get 50? What's the benefit of that? What do they get from that?
Well, hopefully, depending on the individual, they are able to identify women that are worthy versus ones that aren't.
Appreciate that, bro. Y'all know the vibes, man. Y'all know the vibes. I low-key want to do, like, I want to do topics and debates like this. Not like, we don't have to do it all the time, but where we just talk about shit like this, because there's no space like this on Kick for when guys could just talk about, like, the reality of dating, politics, the world, religion, shit like that. There's no space like this on Kick. Right now, Kick is just a bunch of, like, degenerate kids running around stealing shit, or niggas having sex on stream, a bunch of drug addicts. Like, yeah, Kick is kind of like, it's just crazy right now, bro. W scored 50 bomb. Yeah, that was a great day, bro. When I got that 50 bomb, that was a good day. That was an amazing day.
Also, assuming that this person would be seeing this woman, if they're just looking to have sex, then obviously it's gonna be a waste. But I'm talking about, you know, you're obviously courting this woman, you're hanging out with this woman, etc. You're seeing her.
Because look, my friend had your book. I was trying to look for it myself. It's called.
Oh, nice.
Would you shave your head for 100 subs?
Right before I spoke to you, and
I'd get a haircut for 100 subs, but I wouldn't go bald. Nah, I'm good.
The statistics you have on.
I don't need the money like that.
You had on here was, for example, that a man will
On
spend
life,
30
it's just
hours
Deegan
or
shit
something like
on
this,
Kick.
doing
Yeah.
30 hours
A
doing
lot of degen shit on
speed
Kick.
dating online in order to just get one date, 1.46 date in the year or something like that. Now, what I'm saying is that to get 50 women, look, you know it's a numbers game, and I know it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
The feasibility, the amount of man hours that you're going to need to put in to have,
But the content too, not just the money.
According to you,
That's not my content though. My content is not me like embarrassing myself for views, bro. Like that could be other dudes' content. If y'all want to embarrass yourself with views, y'all could go ahead and do that. But my content is like, it's sports, music, women, debates, maybe debates, but right now it's just sports, music, and women. That's my content. And when the money starts coming in, I want to do like some luxury shit, like cars and shit, and traveling vlogs. That's my content, bro.
That you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
The amount of man hours we're talking about, like if he's going to use Tinder or some kind of an app, and according to these stats, he's going to need to do a lot of that, right?
Yeah.
And the question of benefit here is
and gaming
from a religious standpoint. Muslims, Christians, and Jews all agree that sex shouldn't even be done outside of marriage. Now, it is still possible to marry 50 women. I mean, I'm not saying you cannot marry and divorce 50 women. It's a possibility. But I'm not necessarily saying that one should do that. Of course, we wouldn't agree with that. One should do that. The point I'm trying to get at is that there isn't actually any good evidence that having intercourse with that many women would give you a kind of benefit in the relationship. In fact, you could argue for the opposite. Because if you get sex very easily, going back to the idea of virtue, then you can be less restrained in your sexual appetites. And this is something that in virtue ethics is referred to as temperance. So if you're less restrained, you don't have as much restraint, for example. You don't have self-control. And if you don't have willpower and self-control in one area, you're less
been good, bro.
likely to get in other
Life's
areas.
life's been nice.
Called Willpower, funny enough.
I've been enjoying life. I ain't gonna lie. I hope you've been all right too. I've seen you like you finally started to stream back and you're back in the community and shit again. That's fire. That's fire, bro. Glad to see you back.
Roy Baumeister, a very fantastic book. I recommend it. But he mentioned the point that if you have willpower in one area, for example, he mentioned fasting, religious fasting as an example. Roy Baumeister. If you have willpower and discipline in one area, it's transferable to other areas. The idea of getting 50 women having sex with them, which is difficult anyway, according to these stats, because just because you're dating a woman, it doesn't mean you're going to have sex with her.
The girls overstream. Not really, because I don't think I was home that day. Or either I just didn't get the notification, bro. Like a lot of people have been struggling to get kick notice, but I was just talking about this last night with my friends and shit.
Because you know, from a status perspective, you guys have got, you know, big channel, good money coming in. The guy's wearing a nice Rolex red face. I like it. Fresh. And you're wearing a nice watch as well.
It's chocolate.
You guys are well put together.
Thank you, bro.
So not everyone is fresh, and not everyone's Myron Gaines.
Yeah.
And so it's not going to be easy to get sex like that. So for them to put 30 hours to 50 hours to get a date, and then after that, to get like 100 of those, maybe 30, I don't know what the numbers would be, a conversion rate. 5 dates to one woman having sex, maybe? I don't know. Is that,
also,
Myron,
Mohammed,
you know more about this than I do?
Keep in mind, right, because people tend to criticize my, my idea that you should have sex with 50 women, but there's a bunch of other things I tell guys to have in place as well. They should make a certain amount of money, 35 years old, be in shape.
Damn,
they
bro,
need to have
we've
a bunch
had a
of things in
consistent
line.
50 subs for the past month or two.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, bro. We've been at 50 subs for like the past 2 months. That's actually like, yo, I'm fucking grateful for that shit. That shit is a fucking blessing, bro. I've been like what? I'm like what? 3 months in? I'm like 3 months in now. Actually 4 months in. I'm 4 months in. Genuinely streaming like that, and I got 50 subs. Like, bro, like I'm fucking grateful as fuck, bro. I'm happy for that shit. Like, it generally feels like it's pulling off. Like almost 5, yeah, we almost at 5 months. Almost at 5. I think towards the middle of this month it's gonna be 5 months streaming. Now I wanna get back to getting the followers up there, but it's just the easiest way to get followers is monkey, but Yeah. Yeah. Monkey is so it's getting fucking repetitive.
So that they can be in a position, and the reason why I say this, like, so this is what it is. Make 6 figures a year or more, have 6 months or a year of savings.
And I've been here since almost
shape,
day one.
50
no
when
cap,
be 35
Carter.
years
No
old.
cap,
The reason
Carter.
why I say have these 5 things in place is
Carter, you came in like
most
2 weeks after I started streaming consistently, like 2 weeks. Jaw followed me like 1 week after I started streaming consistently, and I think Clayton came in like a couple days after you, Carter. Not gonna lie. And Dan came in like towards December, so he came in like after a month of me streaming consistently. And I'm grateful for all y'all niggas. No cap. I know y'all. I say that to y'all a lot, but like I genuinely mean that shit, bro. Like to have niggas
John and Clay followed after me.
They did? Well then, yeah, you're the first. My bad. Well, to have people that come in like not every day, if not every day, every other day, and just even if you don't chat, you watch and shit, bro. Yeah, I'm super grateful for that shit, bro. Yeah. So that's why I try to keep the content good for you niggas, man. Try to keep the content good vibes, good energy and shit. It's only up from here, no cap. Yeah, I'm still.
I met you off of Monkey, remember, and I was the only one in here.
Yeah. I remember now. That's when I just got into Monkey. I met you. That's when I didn't even have premium. I just had like regular Monkey, and I was just on there, just trying to like see what I can do. That's when I had the ass PC, because I couldn't even play games on that PC. The only thing I could have played on that PC was Among Us. Of course, your black ass was on Monkey. All right. The way we met was jokes. I met Kobe. I remember meeting you the day Mike Smalls was doing that fireworks, like I think it was prank. I don't know what that was. He was just doing some fireworks in his dorm room, and that's when I met Kobe for the first time.
Most women, right, will look at you as a higher status, more attractive male, which will inevitably put her
it was
in her feminine,
for
put
New
you in your
Year's.
masculine, so the relationship ends up
For something like that. No, it wasn't for New Year's. It was for him reaching like a milestone. It was followers. No, it was a subs or followers milestone. I can't remember.
When you deal with a rambunctious woman. Now, does that mean that if the person reaches 10 bodies, 20 bodies, 30, 40, and he has other things in place, oh no, sorry baby, I can't commit to you because I need to hit 50? No. And like I said before, with our podcast, we might be able to curb it where they don't need to necessarily hit that number. But I'm speaking from a general perspective for most people. And then also with as far as the book goes, with the dating stuff, this is why I'm such a big proponent of not relying on online dating. I tell people, meet girls through your friends, meet girls when you're out, meet them out in real life, use Instagram. We have multiple different ways that you need to go ahead and source women. Now, with that said, of course, if you're religious, then this might not necessarily apply to you because you're going against your religious beliefs. But my thing is this: if you're a religious guy, right, and you can't do this, that's totally fine. The only thing I ask is I want them to make sure that they don't get married with the state. You don't need to hit this body count number if you're getting married and it's just religious strictly and there isn't a state involved.
I see. Look, a lot of what you said there is very reasonable. I don't think it's wrong for a man to aspire to make a certain money, like a certain amount of money. Nice. I don't think it's wrong for them to put themselves in the. I think it's actually quite praiseworthy, frankly. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. My only issue is that the reason why I mentioned the 50 body count thing is because this is my analysis.
I remember meeting Jaako. I was trying to troll, but we ended up being friends because he was chill. Nah, me, man. I just be chilling for real.
We're living in a time historians refer to as Pax America.
I ain't gonna lie, Carter. If I met you on a day that I was just like pissed off or something, we'd have probably argued and then end up skipping each other. I ain't gonna cap. But most of the times, I'm chill. I ain't gonna lie, I'm chill. Y'all know me. I'm just be chilling. I just be vibing. I don't go on Monkey trying to talk shit or trolling all the time.
LMAO.
Like, yeah. Most of the times when I go on Monkey, I'm just chilling, bro.
It's a time where America is a superpower, and as a result, Western countries have not had to have wars where they themselves are in danger in the ways that they had in the past.
I remember the very first 24 that shit went so bad.
Bro, the first time I did the 24, I think I threw up or something. That's what I think. I think I generally threw up, bro. Cause my eating schedule was just messed up. I went in the bathroom and I threw up like for a good like 10 minutes, bro. It was actually bad, bro.
As a result, we in the West are living in a state of relative ease and comfort. Arthur Schopenhauer, a famous philosopher, he said that human beings or mankind vacillates between extreme boredom and extreme fear.
Not a vibes. That's why I want you to hurry up and get your laptop, bro, because even if yes, you're not the age where you can start getting paid yet, it'd be still good to have the following. So because put it like this, Cardo, once you tell your followers and you tell your fan base, like, bro, or the people who supporting you, bro, I can finally get subs now. I finally have like a credit card we can go directly on. Nigga, I'll generally come in your chat, give 20. I know some niggas would probably give 10, like, because they already fuck with you. Type shit. Appreciate you, Dan. Dan a real life nigga, man. Appreciate you, Dan. No cap. But like I said, the people that generally like message you, they're gonna come in and support you, bro. No cap. So just stream now with what you got, bro, and trust me, shit's just gonna fall in place, bro.
Neon threatened to grape streaming and getting paid. I should be able to.
That's true as well, cause he's younger than you. He's way younger than you. That's true as well.
That someone's gonna kill us, yeah, in a war context. As a result, we are missing what most cultures in the past referred to as rites of passage for men. This is where the masculinity crisis comes in, because before a man could prove that he is a man by stepping on the battlefield. Now that kind of
but Eddie and Adin be picking
is
and
no
choosing.
longer afforded to us on the same kind of level. And as
honestly, I don't even think it's just Eddie and Aiden. I think Kick is so new that like they don't even have an algorithm, bro. It's just who's ever getting views rises to the top. So if you do some crash out stuff and you end up getting views like what Mike Smalls did, like let's say you just every time you hit like a follow milestone, you go do something, like go to a store, you rob a store, do some crazy stuff, eventually you're gonna hit the top of Kick. But it's like a double-edged sword, because like with snags, you could just end up getting like what you're doing just gets out of hand, you get banned off the platform, bro. And that time it could just be multiple platforms to get
too. Raped and blew up that shit crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like when I see these guys like going viral for stuff like that, bro, I just be like, I'm just be wondering. I wonder if they could keep the audience. That's what I'd be wondering. That's what you want to blow up with, like the right type of reason, bro. You want to blow up in the way you make content. If you make chill content, you want to have the clip that blows you up shows that you're a chill nigga. So niggas don't come inside your stream with the wrong like ideas, bro.
As a result, we have invented rites of passage for men so that they can feel like they have gone through a certain process and now they're men. And what I see with the Red Pill movement is that they've invented arbitrary and ad hoc rites of passage, which actually feed more into hedonistic liberal thinking than anything else, which there's scanty to no evidence that will improve them as an individual, virtuously or otherwise, the like of which we've just mentioned, the 50 body count thing, which I know comes from The Rational Male, because that was the first place I read it. I don't know if you got it from there as well.
He didn't necessarily give a hard number. He just calls it plate theory.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying to you is, in the time it would take you to find non-prostitutes that are 50 in number that you can have sex with in the West, you can spend making money for yourself. You can spend working on yourself. You can spend improving your bravery, improving your proficiency, your strength. Because the thing is, I feel like there's an underlying assumption with the Red Pill movement, yeah? And the assumption almost is that we should live our lives to make ourselves most marketable for women. And I feel like that
that's not true,
irony.
That's not true. That's not what we
at all.
That's no. So I've
But
always
that is
said,
also
bro,
why you
gotta,
have to
and I
be
talk about
careful
that
of
in
what
the
you
book.
say and allow people in your chat to say, because if you say some crash out shit that is tea.
The type of timing your viewers will be on. Yeah, you're right. Cause like that's why it's only every now and then I come with that little like that little character I like to play of just being doing the crash out shit. I try not to do it too much because
How long
like
we watching this debate for no incompetent shit, but I don't like this type of content. I'm not on no incompetent shit.
I'm just chilling to it. I like to have shit like this up. When I'm working out, I listen to these type of shit. I listen to debates, lectures and shit. Oh no.
Book too is I want the guy to be the best version
But
of himself,
you
and
could
then
end
the
it
women
too.
are a byproduct of it. And like I'm very explicit about that in the book. That like, hey, I don't want guys running around chasing women, spending a bunch of time and money and resources on women that don't necessarily want them, because what'll end up happening is what you mentioned before. He'll be looked at as a utility. So I want the guy to develop these characteristics.
But what you said, Dan, to because before I got the text to speech, you're right though. You're right though. You gotta you can't be just saying too much wild shit, because then you're just gonna attract niggas like if you look at SSB and Aiden's chat, that's the perfect example, bro. Aiden, he kind of blew up on some toxic like degen shit, and that's just all his viewers, bro. They want to see porn on stream, bunch of gambling. They want to like just be like it sometimes is funny because like, you know what I mean, like cuz how like drastic and crazy it is. But if you got to deal with that every day, then I would understand why Aiden doesn't want, especially if you're a millionaire, bro. Aiden's a millionaire. He don't got to get on stream every day and deal with these niggas just being like doxing him and talking crazy about his exes, his love life. If he really doesn't want to, like, he could just go do his own thing, but he could go start a business tomorrow and he should be fine. So yeah, it's just because he likes making content, and these guys basically gave him like all that he has today in terms of a fan base and stuff. He feels like he owes it to them. But as soon as he gets out of that mentality that he doesn't necessarily like owe them everything, yeah. Even Dawn's chat, motherfuckers are crazy because he says racist and the whole homophobic shit. That's exactly what his chat is like. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But if you look at it in terms of like the biggest streams in the world, that's why like you gotta like bring something to the table. Like I think Kai, in terms of community, bro, he did it kind of the best way. Yes, his community could be a little toxic and they could make fun of him every now and then, but they're not out of control in my opinion. They're not out of control in my opinion. Like, if I had to choose between having a fan base, if I had to choose between Aiden's fan base, Speed's fan base, Kai's fan base, and who else is like a streamer on their level? Jinxie's fan base, I guess. It would be between Jinxie and Kai's fan bases. That's the one I would choose, because like they don't do all that extra stuff.
Incorrect.
Yeah, facts. He checked his community for all, especially like when they did that thing in Times Square when they met up and they almost shut the city down. Then he got on the stream, the last stream, and he was like, "Yo, like I'm disappointed in y'all. We could have went about that better." And he was saying that basically the next time we have a meetup, it's gonna go a lot better because I don't want this to be the reputation of us and stuff. Bro, that's an adult way to go about that. If Aiden had that type of meetup and it went that way, he'd be like, "Yo, guys, that was so fucking crazy. Let's do it again." Like that's what that, like, come on, tell me that's not what Aiden would do. Aiden would say some shit like that. Remember when he raided you?
He gave them a week timeout to e-kick.
Motherfuckers is racist as hell when we came in here. Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Me, I'm used to the internet, bro. So I know, like, especially Kick, I know to expect that. I was more grateful for like the exposure than anything. He gave them a week timeout. If you know, you know. Well, I don't know about the week timeout. I'm not gonna lie.
Who rated you?
Dom. I think you were in here